Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the Singapore International Energy Agency Forum, or the Singapore IEA Forum. This forum is co-hosted by the Energy Market Authority of Singapore and the International Energy Agency as part of the Singapore International Energy Week 2025. My name is Ravi Nadesan, and happy to be the host for today's program. Many of you have traveled to the sunny island of Singapore, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome each other, and of course from us, from Singapore, let's welcome all of our overseas delegates with a big round of applause. Welcome to Singapore, everyone. Good to see you here. The theme for today's forum is Smart, Connected, Secure, Shaping ASEAN's Energy Security Landscape. The forum aims to explore three pivotal pillars shaping ASEAN's energy security outlook. They are strengthening regional interconnectivity, leveraging digital technologies such as artificial intelligence for smarter systems, and securing LNG supply chains in an evolving global landscape. To begin today's program, ladies and gentlemen, we invite on stage the Minister for Manpower and Minister in charge of Energy and Science and Technology, Ministry of Trade and Industry, Singapore, to deliver his opening remarks. Please welcome His Excellency Dr. Tan See Leng.
Honorable Ministers and Excellencies of the International Energy Agency family, my very, very good friend, Dr. Fateh Birol, IEA's Executive Director, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It's indeed a great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Singapore IEA Forum at the 18th Singapore International Energy Week. Across Southeast Asia, energy demand is set to grow significantly in the coming decades. This growth presents both opportunities and, of course, challenges at the same time. On the one hand, it reflects the region's economic dynamism. But on the other hand, it also demands that we confront the energy trilemma, advancing our decarbonization, safeguarding energy resilience, and how to keep costs in check. Addressing this complex challenge will require us to be a lot smarter. We need to be a lot more connected and secure, which is also the theme of today's forum. First, there's this old adage: there will not be transition without transmission. Our grids are the backbones of our energy systems. Maintaining the grid reliability will become more challenging with the introduction of more intermittent renewable energy sources, as well as new sources of demand, such as EVs, as well as data centers. We will need to be able to build, not just be able to build, but to build smarter grids that are optimized by advanced digital technologies such as AI, automation, and data analytics. AI can help us to improve demand forecasting. It can optimize grid operations. It can integrate higher shares of renewable energy while maintaining system stability. And predictive analytics can enhance asset maintenance and reduce downtime, as well as lower operational costs. According to the IEA's Energy and AI report published earlier this year, the IEA projected that if existing AI technology, such as load forecasting and predictive maintenance, was widely applied, there could be up to $110 billion of global savings annually by 2035. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've always enjoyed listening to Dr. Birol's off-the-cuff exposition, and it's a true reflection of the experience and also the knowledge that he possessed within himself. I think you're all smiling at me because I've gone off script. I'm not looking at it now. But yesterday, the statistics that he shared with us was particularly telling. He talked about how the demand has grown significantly because of AI, driven by data centers. The other A is air conditioning, how to keep us all comfortably well endowed, in spite of our heavy jackets and ties. And the third thing, of course, is because of the huge numbers, the exponential increase in the number of EVs. And the other telling number is that in our region, the incidence of air conditioning is just about 20%, whereas in more advanced economies, it's 90%, like Japan, perhaps in the US and in the West. So if we think about that growth, that potential growth, it could actually push the energy demand up 3.5, 4-fold. So this is the kind of math that we're talking about. And if you apply this load forecasting, the predictive maintenance that I alluded to earlier on, then the annual savings could be even higher. So Singapore, we are progressively deploying AI in our own grid. For example, our grid digital twin allows us to monitor and simulate our national power network in real time, enhancing assets' health, predicting risks, as well as optimizing investments. We would be very happy, we'd be keen to collaborate further with the IEA to improve operational efficiency for Singapore as well as the region. Now, the second key for accelerating decarbonization is to deepen regional interconnectivity through the ASEAN power grid. The win-win benefits of cross-border electricity trade are clear. In its Southeast Asia Energy Outlook 2024, the IEA projects that the average cost of electricity in Southeast Asia will fall from the $120 megawatt hour today to just under $100 megawatt hour by 2035, about a decade from now, and to approximately $80 per megawatt hour by 2050, as the generation mix shifts to more cost-competitive renewable sources. Not only would realizing the APG, the ASEAN Power Grid vision, allow countries to trade energy to catalyze new generation capacity, it will also facilitate access to more affordable electricity within the region. A Singapore-US feasibility study on regional power grids also found that greater regional energy integration will generate economic growth by driving investments and creating new jobs in the renewable energy manufacturing sector. And to realize these benefits, of course, all of us have to come together. We must provide, first of all, regulatory clarity so that we can actually kickstart the project development. A fortnight ago, at the 43rd ASEAN Ministers on Energy meeting, or AMEM, ASEAN Energy Ministers endorsed the TORs, the Terms of Reference, for establishing an ASEAN submarine power cable development framework. When completed, the framework is meant to facilitate subsea route surveys in their waters, as well as the laying, maintenance, and protection of submarine power cables in our region. We look forward to the IEA and the ASEAN working closely to develop a robust framework drawing from experiences from other regions with established interconnected subsea power cable systems and adapting it to the ASEAN context. Given ASEAN's size and geography, overland grids alone will not be enough to connect the sources of renewable energy with their demand centers. The subsea routes actually expand greatly the possibilities of ASEAN power grid interconnections, and they create an even more series of resilient networks. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, even as we progress in the transition, natural gas will continue to underpin the security of our energy systems. As the IEA has also noted in its gas market reports, gas-fired power plants are a practical way to respond to both seasonal and short-term demand fluctuations. This inherent flexibility ensures that as we integrate increasing amounts of solar and wind energy, our system remains consistent and reliable. Singapore is strengthening our energy security with two key initiatives: the establishment of a central procurement entity called GasCo and the development of our second LNG terminal. GasCo will centralize the gas procurement to secure reliable and competitively priced supplies for our power sector, while the new terminal will grow our import capacity by 50%, and it will allow us to import gas from all over the world. Together, they will ensure that Singapore's energy system remains robust, flexible, and ready to support our transition to a cleaner, to a more sustainable future. Singapore will continue to ensure our energy security is not compromised as we introduce new energy sources. Later in the session, EMA will be signing an MOU with the Australian Energy Regulator, AER, to promote cooperation and knowledge exchange on gas and electricity markets. We look forward to similarly strengthening regional capacity for regional regulators, utilities, and policymakers through the annual Singapore IEA Regional Training Hub, which will enter its 9th run this year. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I don't believe that any country can undertake energy transition on its own. Singapore is honored, very privileged to call the IEA our steadfast partner on this journey. Last year, we established the Singapore IEA Regional Cooperation Center in Singapore, and this is IEA's first office outside of Paris. I thank the governing board for your support. I thank Dr. Fateh Birol for his efforts in driving and getting this through. In just 1 year, ladies and gentlemen, under the very wise leadership of Su En, who is here with us, the center has become a hub for training, for dialogue, and capacity building in our region. It's just 1 year. And in that time, I didn't even have the opportunity to visit the IEA's office yet. She has done so much in the region. For example, we're really heartened to hear that the center intends to work closely with the ASEAN Center for Energy on an ASEAN energy security review. So, through smarter technologies, deepen regional grid interconnection, and ongoing efforts to strengthen energy security, we can all create an energy legacy that is both resilient and sustainable and secure for our children and our children's children. With that, thank you. I wish all of you a very fruitful forum ahead.
Thank you, Minister Tan. Thank you, sir, for the opening speech. We invite you to remain on stage a tad bit. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now witness the exchange of the Memorandum of Understanding between Energy Market Authority of Singapore and Australian Energy Regulator. We invite on stage to join the Minister, Chief Executive of the Energy Market Authority of Singapore, Mr. Phua Kok Keong, and the Deputy Chair of the Australian Energy Regulator, Mr. Justin Oliver, to exchange the Memorandum of Understanding. Joining on stage to formally witness this significant occasion, ladies and gentlemen, we'd also like to invite His Excellency Alistair Cox, Australia's High Commissioner to Singapore, on stage. They're all on stage right now. Let's give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this Memorandum of Understanding provides a framework for both sides to deepen cooperation and sharing of regulatory practices on gas and electricity markets. The MOU builds on the excellent momentum of the cooperation between EMA and AER and the 60th year of diplomatic relations between Singapore and Australia. Special moment indeed. Another round of applause, shall we? We invite you to have your photographs taken, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you very much. We invite all of our VIPs to make your way to your seats. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now with pleasure that we invite up on stage the Executive Director of the International Energy Agency to deliver his opening remarks. Please welcome Dr. Fateh Birol.
Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is once again, a great pleasure to be here in Singapore. 1 year after we have launched the IEA Center in ASEAN region in Singapore, and Dr. Tan just left after his generous introduction for this very forum. Dear colleagues, we have chosen this region as a priority region for the International Energy Agency, the Global Energy Authority, the organization which looks after all fuels and all technologies. Why we have chosen this region as a priority region is not a coincidence. We look at the numbers. When we look at the numbers, we understand that this region is fundamental for global energy markets. 25% of global energy demand growth in the world comes from this very region, the ASEAN region. It is the second only to India in terms of growth. About 300 gigawatts in the next 10 years, we expect this region to add its power capacity. So in 10 years, this region will add one Japan to its power capacity. And this power capacity will be met, the growth will be met by gas, by renewables, and in many countries we hear there is a growing interest in nuclear power. So looking at those issues, how the dynamic this region is, we thought we should have closer relationship with this region, and it is far from our wonderful headquarters in beautiful city of Paris. We decided to have an office here, and I have visited yesterday our office. It is great. It is wonderful. We have a wonderful head, Suan Tan, and I suggest all of you to visit this office, not all together, it's a small office, but with a wonderful view and a great coffee machine. So this is thank you very much, Dr. Tan, a great leader, a great friend. And Dr. Tan, as he mentioned, we work extremely well together, but every time I come to Singapore, he surprises me with, because every time his portfolio is getting bigger and bigger, and I see that he has new responsibilities in addition to the energy and trade now. Dear colleagues, my friends, the colleagues from the IEA will tell you what we are going to do, what we are aiming to do with the region, but I want to highlight only 3 topics. The first one is the power grids. In the world, we see this problem almost everywhere. We don't have enough grids. We don't have the grid capacity enough to meet the growth in the power sector. We talk about, many of us talk about yesterday, how much renewables were added to the power capacity in the world. It was record, 750 gigawatts of new renewables. But the bad news is, while 750 gigawatts were added to the power capacity, 1,700 gigawatts of renewables power plants were finished, but waiting to be connected to the grid, and they cannot because there is not enough grid capacity. So power plant is finished, and they are not able to connect because of the lack of grid capacity. And in this very region, there is an incredible opportunity to connect the grids among the countries and to benefit from the seasonality of the renewables, integrating them to the system, and also, as many countries said about nuclear, facilitating the integration of nuclear power there. This is one project we are very keen to see. The second project is on a topic of the critical minerals. in our view, the emerging opportunity and at the same time the energy security challenge of the world. And at the IEA, we believe that the diversification is good. But when we look at the critical minerals today, both in terms of mining and refining, there is a major concentration. And the countries in this region have huge critical minerals resources, from nickel to rare earth elements to cobalt, tin, and others. In terms of also refining, there is already some momentum going on. So we very much hope that this region is going to develop its critical minerals muscles, both in terms of mining and refining, and provide diversity to the world, and at the same time becomes the economic power, makes benefit from the growing interest and demand for critical minerals. Third and the last point that I am very eager is that we were very happy that very recently, the ASEAN energy ministers tasked the IEA to make an energy security review of all the ASEAN member countries' markets. It goes to oil, gas, renewables, critical minerals, and electricity security. This is a major challenge for the IEA, but a great also an honor as the IEA, as the guardian of the global energy security. We are going to work on this and provide next year the ASEAN ministers meeting with our report under the leadership of my colleague, Mr. Sadamori, who is with us here. So, dear colleagues, it's a great pleasure to have so many of you here with us in the IEA Singapore Forum, and I am very happy to see many of our member countries, governing board members, including our chairman, Dr. Anders Hoffmann, with us today, with so many countries from the region. And I wish to have a good, friendly, but also productive day for all of us today. Thank you very much.
Dr. Birol, thank you, sir. Always good to hear from you. Thank you. And now onwards to the keynote address for this morning, ladies and gentlemen. And for that, I'd like to invite Her Excellency Sharon S. Garin, Secretary of the Department of Energy of the Republic of Philippines, to deliver this keynote address. Let's welcome her with a round of applause, shall we, ladies and gentlemen?
Good morning. Feels like I've been here a week already. Excellencies, distinguished delegates and colleagues, valued partners from the private sector, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to everyone. It is both a profound honor and a privilege to stand before you today. At the outset, allow me to extend my sincere appreciation to Energy Market Authority of Singapore and the International Energy Agency, or IEA, for organizing this forum. Across the ASEAN region, we are united in our efforts to ensure secure, reliable, and affordable energy, while accelerating our transition to cleaner and greener energy resources. These objectives present in each of our country's agenda must be pursued in parallel. The theme of this forum, Advancing Energy Security and Transition Through Regional Power Grids, captures this imperative. In the Philippines, for instance, the interconnection of our three major islands, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, through the Mindanao-Visayas Transmission Interconnection Project, demonstrated how greater connectivity enhances system reliability and flexibility. This experience, although on a national scale, reflects the same principles of the ASEAN Power Grid. ASEAN envisions a fully interconnected regional power system capable of meeting the region's growing energy demand. This interconnected system will drive the transition toward a cleaner, resilient, and sustainable energy future, where progress and prosperity are shared equitably across ASEAN member states. The development of our vast renewable energy resources will not reach the scale needed to meet regional targets if each ASEAN member state continues to plan and balance its system independently within its own borders. Without cooperation, the cost of the transition will be higher, the pace will be slower, and the risks to system reliability will be greater. In this context, the vision of interconnected ASEAN energy system stands not merely as a long-standing aspiration, but as a strategic enabler for the next phase of our collective energy transition. Notably, half of the priority projects identified under the ASEAN Interconnection Master Plan Study Phase 3 are now operational, demonstrating that regional integration is no longer conceptual, but a growing reality. To sustain this momentum, we must now focus on addressing key challenges in technical harmonization, market design, and investment mobilization. To unlock the full potential of regional interconnection, we must align our national policies to ensure systems can operate seamlessly across borders. Harmonized technical standards, compatible market mechanisms, clear investment framework, and stable cross-border governance from the foundation of our collective progress. Financing. Financing remains a key challenge. The ASEAN Power Grid's cross-border projects demand substantial capital, calling for innovative financing models and blended mechanisms that leverage public, private, and multilateral support. The recent launch of the new ASEAN Power Grid Financing Initiative in partnership with the Asian Development Bank, or ADB, and the World Bank Group marks an important step in this direction. At the same time, progress must be deliberate and well coordinated, paving the way for a truly interconnected and sustainable ASEAN energy future. As we go back to our homes after this week, as we go back to our work, I hope that the private and the public take into account what is the intent of the ASEAN Grid. As we invest or as we develop policies in our countries, we must have it at the back of our mind. Will this support the ASEAN Grid? Will this support interconnecting the ASEAN member states? As we enter the next cycle of energy cooperation to the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, or APAEC 2026-2030, we reaffirm our collective commitment to advancing key program areas that ensure energy security, strengthen regional connectivity, and accelerate the transition to a low-carbon future. The updated APAEC sets forth the region's renewable energy aspirations to achieve 30% share of renewables in the total primary energy supply and 45% in installed power capacity by 2030. Ambitious yet attainable targets, especially with stronger regional cooperation and sustained policy alignment. While governments provide direction and enabling policies, the scale of capital and innovation required far exceeds public resources. We must cultivate an investment environment where ASEAN is viewed not as separate markets, but as a unified investment area supported by stable, transparent, and harmonized frameworks. The Philippines stands ready to contribute and to support this shared vision. We acknowledge the strong foundation built under Malaysia's leadership and recognize both the responsibility and opportunity ahead as we assume the ASEAN chairship in 2026. During our term, during Philippines chairship, we aim to work closely with member states, dialogue partners, and private sector to sustain existing initiatives while advancing mechanisms that deliver tangible, system-level benefits that will drive an interconnected ASEAN. Beyond physical connection, we aspire to show that cooperation and shared vision are the true drivers of both energy security and decarbonization. In closing, our task is not to choose between energy security and energy transition, but to achieve both together. The ASEAN Power Grid remains one of our most vital instruments to realize this dual objective, embodying the spirit of ASEAN. Shared prosperity, shared responsibility, and shared commitment to a sustainable future. Thank you, and I wish everyone a productive and meaningful dialogue. Salamat at mabuhay po kayong lahat.
Secretary Garin, thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, it will be the opening presentation. This time, it's from the head of the IEA Regional Cooperation Center. Please welcome the lovely Tan Su Eun.
It's always nice to start your morning with a compliment. Your Excellency, Secretary Garin, IEA Governor, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Birol earlier set out the importance of Southeast Asia to the global energy market, in particular in driving energy demand. In the next 5 minutes, I will share 3 key points on how this energy demand will be met. Firstly, the role of imports. Second, the opportunity of renewables. And finally, the need for grids, transmission, and finance to enable the secure energy future we all hope for this region. First, imports will continue to play an important supply role for this region. ASEAN's increasing product import needs will drive broader Asian trade flows, driven in part by LNG, as this region becomes a net importer, as well as oil, where the region's oil demand is set to grow by 20% over the next 10 years. ASEAN's increasing import dependence accounts for more than 75% of the Asia's region, excluding India, increase in product imports. Now, the sources for these additional volumes include the United States and the Middle East, particularly led by LPG and ethane exports. An opportunity to diversify energy supply for this region, as also mentioned by both Secretary Garin and Minister Tan, is to tap into the region's abundant and diversified renewable resources potential. Earlier this month, in the sidelines of the ASEAN Ministers for Energy meeting, the IEA launched our Integrating Solar and Wind in Southeast Asia report, very kindly launched by Secretary Garin in Kuala Lumpur. In that report, we identified that the technical potential of solar and wind in this region exceeds 20 terawatts. This is roughly 55 times the region's current total generation capacity. You add on to that hydropower and bioenergy and that potential, for example, countries like Laos, the Sarawak state of Malaysia, are already major hydropower producers and looking to continue that development. Even tapping a small fraction of this potential could diversify supply, very importantly, reduce fossil fuel import reliance and costs, as well as curb emissions, providing a strong foundation for a clean and secure energy future. The report also shows that most countries in this region are still in the early phases of variable renewable energy integration and will remain so until at least 25. Now, this means a significant amount of solar and wind energy can be added using proven, low-cost operational measures before major investments become necessary. As Minister Tan said, there is no transition without transmission. Building modern, robust domestic grids, as well as cross-border interconnections, is essential to meet demand growth and energy security, both at a country level, as highlighted by Secretary Garin, as well as at a regional level. For example, as shown on the chart on the left, by 2035, the transmission network length will need to grow by more than 50% compared to 2023 levels, and by 2050, network lengths will again need to more than double. This will require a significant increase in grid investments from USD 10 billion today to almost USD 30 billion in the next 10 years. This will call for innovative financing models to attract new sources of finance, as grids are natural monopolies. It is also why accelerating the rollout of the ASEAN Power Grid is critical, as has been mentioned by Dr. Birol, Minister Tan, as well as Secretary Garin. The Ministers for Energy's execution of an enhanced MOU for the APG 2 weeks ago, as well as the financing facility, is an important step. But again, now turns to the detail, making sure that the supporting standards, the regulatory and legal governance is in place so that the implementation can continue to happen at speed. Finally, very importantly, finance. To support the diversification of supply, significant expansion of investment will be required. In the past decade, even as Southeast Asia's energy demand outpaced that of the rest of the world, growing by around 3% per year since 2015, growth in energy investments lagged behind. Given that, as we've heard today, over the next 10 years, Southeast energy demand growth will continue to again outpace that of the rest of the world, we need to see a significant scale-up in investment across the energy system, everything from power generation to grids to storage, as well as end-use sectors. With this dynamic context, as has been mentioned, a year ago, the IEA launched its Regional Cooperation Center right here at SIEW. And our purpose is to really work with our Southeast Asia partners to advance their national and regional energy ambitions and plans. This includes providing data and analysis on renewables integration and regional power trade, energy technologies such as hydrogen and nuclear, as well as, importantly, the financing mechanisms that are required to really lower the cost of capital in this region. To support this analysis, the IEA will also continue to work to enhance skills and cooperation and capacity building in this region. And this includes through bilateral and regional trainings on power grids, one of which we do in great cooperation with our colleagues at the EMA here in Singapore, as well as power system operations and energy efficiency. We are very eager to continue to work closely with our Southeast Asia partners, my team and I, who are all here as well, by the way, so feel free to approach them during the day to see how we can best help this region achieve its ambitions of a secure, reliable, and affordable energy future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Suen. Thank you. I also think many will be going to your office for that coffee after Dr. Birol has mentioned it earlier on. Ladies and gentlemen, the SG-60 at SIEW Energy Showcase, co-presented by the Energy Market Authority of Singapore and Sembcorp Industries, is now located at Level 4, Lotus Ballroom. The special edition Energy Showcase takes you through Singapore's energy journey, as we mentioned yesterday as well, from where we stand today to the bold future we are indeed building for tomorrow. Explore how innovation, collaboration, and ambition, most of all ambition, are shaping the resilient energy future. We'd like to invite all delegates to visit that showcase a little later on. Moving on with the program, we'd like to proceed with the first panel on advancing energy security and transition through regional power grids. This session is presented by OCBC. Do join me in welcoming on stage our esteemed panelists. They are Sushil Purohit, Chief Executive Officer Gentari, Janice Bong, Managing Director, Power and Renewables, Keppel Infrastructure, Claire McLaughlin, Head of Energy Performance and Security Division, Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water, Australia. Dr. Anders Hoffman, IEA Governing Board Chair, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry for Climate, Energy and Utilities, Denmark. Edwin Nugaraputra, Director in Transmission and Systems Planning at PT PLN. Moderating the session, ladies and gentlemen, is Ms. Elaine Lam, Head of Global Corporate Banking at OCBC. All of our panelists are right there. We have Elaine in position as well. Elaine, over to you.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm Elaine Lam, Head of Global Corporate Banking at OCBC. I'm pleased to moderate the panel this morning, which includes senior government representatives driving policies and senior business leaders from key companies in the region. We're very keen to hear their perspectives and insights, how we can advance energy security and transition through interconnected regional power grids. Yesterday, Dr. Tan See Leng highlighted that there's more than 20 terawatts of untapped solar and wind power in Southeast Asia, but supply is far from demand centers. Dr. Fatih shared that building power generation capacity is good, but that does not mean anything unless there are grids to bring the power to users. And this region will contribute to 25% of global energy demand from now to 2035. Therefore, building interconnected power grids in the region is imperative for economic development, energy security, and transition. We heard also this morning just the lack of grid capacity, the importance of the ASEAN power grid, and transmission network length must more than double in just under 10 years. So with this as the backdrop, let's turn to our panelist. Anders, as chair of the IEA Governing Board, you have a front row seat to global energy transition. So my question is, in your view, how is energy transition progressing, and how can regional grids help improve energy security and support the shift to cleaner energy? Anders?
Well, thank you, and first of all, thank you for having me. I think the first question is really a place of where you start. If you start, where did we come from? A lot have happened. I mean, there is clearly a major transition going on. If you ask where we're going, then we're not going fast enough. So I think it really depends on the benchmark. But maybe getting back to the importance of the grid and the interconnectors, I think I was actually slightly worried when I heard the two keynotes presentation, because basically that was my speaking notes that they were presenting. So I was sort of trying to scrabble a bit and try to find out maybe to structure it in a bit other way. So I think I'm going to make 3 points. Maybe first, I mean, why do we need these interconnectors? Why do we want that international grid? And I clearly see there's two main reasons. I mean, one of them is, of course, if you have it, the efficiency of your energy system would just be much better. So clearly, from every country participating in such a grid, a clear efficiency gain. Secondly, and maybe even more importantly, there's a security issue here. You would have much more secure energy. So the why is clearly efficiency and security. Then, of course, you can start asking, but then how? I mean, how does this actually work? And I think if you look at the integration, as we just heard, of renewable, I think there's a clear link between integrating renewable and these grids. I mean, take wind and solar, clearly a source where you have great variation. If you have interconnectors, you would not have the same wind pattern, you would not have the same clouds. So simply by connecting two countries, I mean, you would have much better integration. You can also use time zones. I mean, if you have different time zones, you would have different peaks in demand. You can thereby have a much more effective system. So just by sort of connecting countries, you can actually have much more benefits from using of the renewable. Then if you move to my fine point on the what, I think what needs to be done is basically three things. I mean, you really, of course, need to work fast, but in a very, very patient way. I mean, this is something that takes time to develop. And the reason why it takes time is that you need to get the regulation in place. I mean, you can't connect countries without a sort of some kind of common understanding of the regulation. And I think if you see in other places, like in Europe, we have done quite a lot of work on creating these regional coordination bodies, which is like standing beyond the countries, and really try to make sure that that coordination is in place. So just to sort of sum up the why, efficiency and security, I think that would be my main point.
Thank you, Anders. Now, Australia has been a very strong partner in ASEAN's energy transition journey. Prime Ministers Anthony Albanese and Lawrence Wong met recently to update the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, CSP 2.0, and earlier this morning, we also witnessed the signing of the MOU between EMA and the Australian energy regulators to continue our cooperation on grid modernization. So Claire, with these strong bilateral and regional ties in place, how does Australia see its role in Southeast Asia's energy transition, especially with perhaps Singapore as a hub for investment and innovation?
Great, thank you very much for the question, and thanks for inviting me. It is fantastic to be back here at SIEW. I was here last year when Minister Bowen was really happy to be here as part of the announcement about the IEA Regional Centre. And a bit like Anders, most of my talking points have already been said this morning, so I'm going to see what else I can add to that. Obviously, Australia is really appreciative of the strong relationship that we have with Singapore. It was exciting a week or two ago to be driving through Canberra with Singaporean flags everywhere, which happened around the visit and the signing of CSP 2.0. It's an exciting chapter in our 60-year bilateral partnership between Australia and Singapore that elevates our climate, energy and environment cooperation, including through a newly established annual ministerial dialogue on energy. So we'll be working together with Singapore to take advantage of the enormous economic and industrial opportunities as the region moves through its energy transition, as others have discussed this morning. This includes accelerating ambitious climate action and unlocking investment and growing regional energy trade. We also recently signed the Australia-Singapore cross-border electricity trade framework to facilitate bilateral cooperation on electricity trade. This positive relationship and strengthening relationship with Singapore is also reflective of our relationships with the broader ASEAN family. Climate and the clean energy transition are at the forefront of our diplomatic, economic and development relationships right across Southeast Asia. We recognise that our regional partners want to achieve net zero while growing their economies, and as has been reinforced a few times today and in many of the presentations yesterday, their energy security at the same time. Australia has these goals as shared goals, and we're implementing a range of bilateral and multilateral initiatives through various relationships in Southeast Asia to support those. When it comes to the ASEAN power grid, as a number of people have mentioned today, Australia has announced an energy cooperation package with ASEAN at the recent ASEAN-Australia Summit. And just last week, our Assistant Minister for Climate Change and Energy announced that we're joining the Partnership for ASEAN Connectivity on Energy to be convened under the APG Financing Initiative. So we are looking for all the opportunities that we can to support the work that is being led by Singapore and also led through ASEAN right across the region to make sure that we can support our partners in Southeast Asia to forge their own pathways to a timely and orderly transition to clean energy and really importantly deliver practical energy security outcomes, particularly given the points that have been made by Suern, Dr. Birol and others about the extraordinary pace of growth in energy demand in this region.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Now, perhaps turning to our other three panelists from the region here, representing leading companies. So how do you see these partnerships really contribute to the development of regional grids and enhancing energy resilience across Southeast Asia? Perhaps we'll start with Sushil from Gentari and then Janice to hear about Keppel's experience and perspectives on public-private partnerships, and then to Edwin to share your perspectives later on from the public sector, given the vital role that the PLN plays in the Indonesian power sector. Sushil?
First of all, good morning to everyone. I think, there has been a lot of reasons told already why do we need the ASEAN power grid itself. I mean, we are clearly the most populous region, one of the most populous region after China and India. Almost 700 people. It's going to grow up to 720 million by end of this decade. The power demand is rising because of not only population rise, but industrial growth. You know, the aspirations are rising. We heard about also the air conditioning load is increasing, you know, things like that. So we have a bit of multi-dimensional transition happening. One is clearly the rising demand. Secondly, we are talking about, you know, the ambition on adding more and more renewables. Thirdly, we are also stretched with our power grids. You know, we have limitation on the flexibility. We have limitation on the grid side. And this is where this was already there when people were talking about, you know, dealing with the energy trilemma within the national boundaries. You know, we talk about energy security, affordability, sustainability within the national boundary. Now, when the power demand is increasing and we need to tap into resources which are sort of, you know, for example, the wind in the coastal areas, the hydro in the north, the solar in the equator, we need to sort of bring all these powers from where it is available to where it is actually needed. And when we talk about that, it's, you know, it is essential that we need to have an interconnected system. The future will be an interconnected system. Now, you know, how do we get to an interconnected system? I think the governments need to work together. You know, when we talk about the private, public-private partnership, it is a lot of partnership. It's not, you know, one country or one company cannot do it. We have to have cooperation. You know, so we are working on sort of couple of key projects now, which are, you know, going to bring power from Vietnam through Malaysia to Singapore and from Indonesia to Singapore. I think it is important to understand that policies need to be looked at in a completely different way right now, because you need to harmonize the technical limits of the grids. You know, you talk about the grid codes, you talk about how do we have the tariffs harmonized, how do we schedule and dispatch, you know, the coordination of that. I think there's a lot of work that we need to do. At the same time, I think it is important that the private sectors like us and then Keppel and other companies that are there, you know, we need to have the business-led initiatives to do projects which are going to have meaningful impact in the region and work together with the governments, with the policymakers, with the regulators to see what are those enabling policies that need to be there to facilitate these projects. And that's where we spend quite some time. And I think it's a lot about cooperation right now. And, you know, I think we heard sort of the keynote speech from the honorable ministers and the executive director of IEA. If we are going to have a sustainable power system, a cleaner and resilient power system within the region where we can have, you know, sort of, we can not only have access to power at scale, but also reduce the cost of power for our future generations. I think this is the only way to go. We need an interconnected system going forward.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks, Sushil. Good morning, everyone. I'm Janice I'm from Keppel. So Keppel being a global asset manager with deep operating capabilities in infrastructure, connectivity, and real estate, as a private developer, we see public-private partnership as critical and essential, especially in ASEAN Power Grid. I mean, it is quite obvious that private sectors bring about innovation, technology, sources of private funding, but it itself is not sufficient. As a private developer, we all know that in going into such huge capital-intensive projects like connectivity, bringing renewable power from one source location to another country, it involves lots of permitting, planning, obviously fair, consistent regulatory standards helps, corporate governances help, and all these partnerships is really to be built over time with clarity, and so that as private developers, when we go into a project, it is something that we know would be bankable from the regulatory perspective, would be bankable from the commercial perspective. Technically, as we go through the talks of ASEAN Power Grid, we all know that the technical solutions are there. I mean, the ability to build solar farms, batteries, these are proven technologies. The ability to build subsea pipelines, these are also proven technologies. But we need quite a lot of ingredients from both the public as well as the private to be able to move large-scale projects. Essentially, if you look at national grids, most national grids are actually run by the governments itself. And so working with the governments, working with the national grids is an inherent part of doing this business in ASEAN Power Grid. CAPO has the privilege, and we are proud to be one of the first few movers in terms of the work that we are doing for ASEAN Power Grid. So back in 2021, we did the very iconic LTMS deal, which is Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. And that particular transaction, it is itself a pathfinder. It is itself using existing infrastructure, so less complications, not no complications, less complications, and as well as a lot of G2G engagement, a lot of G2G support. But to move such a pathfinder project, small scale, 100 megawatts, we took a bit of time as well to figure out, like what Sushil said, what are the nomination protocols? How do we deal with constraints? How do we deal with maintenance as different part of the grids, wheeling, so on and so forth? However, we are a strong believer that when we move a project of this size, it is when people say, hey, it is possible. Hey, it's something that as parties, stakeholders come together and build on partnerships, build on trust, build on openness, it is doable. And with that track record, we move very quickly to look at, obviously, connecting from some of the neighboring countries, including Indonesia, hopefully in the future, Cambodia, and so on and so forth. These would require a lot more technical feasibility studies, a lot more coordination, and a lot more understanding of some of the economic, social sensitivities around the different stakeholders that we work with. Whilst bringing power or renewable energy out from a certain country to another country where demand centers are, we need to be mindful, we need to balance. We need to balance domestic consumption requirements of the particular country. We need to balance what the importer country would require as well. And these are things that would need time, trust to be able to get it sorted out. And again, same thing. We all know that while doing power importation project or doing ASEAN Power Grid, FDIs are a natural benefit where we bring in new manufacturing capabilities into countries, so on and so forth. But sensitivities around how are we going to utilize resources around the countries where resources are more abundant to countries where resources are less abundant and to demand centers. And we want to be able to work with each jurisdiction, each stakeholder, to be able to move the partnership forwards. And that's how we think we are able to collaborate on a longer-term basis and be able to achieve a win-win kind of approach. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Hello, everybody. My name is Edwin Nugraha Putra. I'm from VLN. Well, I would like to give you a perspective about a regional grid. How can we develop and what is the benefit from the private sector? If we would like to get in the developing of the transmission lines, for example. Well, during the COP26 in Glasgow at 2021, PLN is among the first company in the world that announced our commitment to get zero emissions by 2060. Today, at 2024, we are producing 306 terawatt hours of energy, and will emit it, around 180 million CO2 to the atmosphere. If we do nothing, by 2060, it will get to 1 billion tons of CO2 emitted to the atmosphere. So, by doing our commitments to the energy transition to get zero emissions, what should we do then? Well, the things that right now, the main island, the Java systems, is the location of the main center of the load over there. 70% of the load resides on Java. But if we see the resource of renewable energy scattered in Sumatra, Kalimantan, so the way to do it is to get the transmission line from Sumatra to Java, from Kalimantan to Java. You know that the hydropower available in Aceh. So in order to bring the renewable energy from Aceh to Java system, we need to connect 2,000 kilometer circuit of transmission lines. This is not the things that make the project of IRR better. It get lower. So if we compare with the power plant, it can easily get 9 to 11% of ERR. But with those transmission lines, it's only 3 to 5 ERR. So this is not the things that interest with the private sector. So if the private sector would like to join, of course, we need to bring a very cheap cost of financial in order to be able to do that. Another thing is that we do the connections between islands with high technology. We use the HPDC technology, for example, from Sumatra to Java, which is 500 kilometers long, the transmission lines. We need to use HPDC. There is a technology over there. Of course, we believe some from China already do the HPDC, also from Europe, so that we need to work together to build the transmission lines. We can possible to see how can we possible to do that. So if we calculate for just another 10 years from 2025 to 2034, we need almost 188 billion US dollar in order to make net zero emission by 2060. We cannot do it alone. We need everybody, we need to work together. So the only way to move forward is through the collaborations. So yeah, there is a plenty of possibility in order to make the grid not only between the islands of Indonesia, but also to Singapore, also to Malaysia and to Sabah. Well, actually, we have already right now the existing West Kalimantan to Sarawak interconnections. It's already done for several years. That's working good. But in order to make it bigger, of course, the things that we need to consider about low green commercial fund and also high-tech technology about how we implemented the interconnection between islands. Thank you.
Yeah. I think we've heard a lot of things. Thank you for all that sharing. I think a key word that struck me was really balance. I think, Janice, what you said about balance, that need to balance between importers and exporters' requirements and demand, and where demand's coming from, where supply is, financing, the cost of financing, and how we can tap the different pools of capital that's available, public and private also, that balance between private and public initiatives and objectives. And I guess all that links up to that really strong desire. We do need all to partner together, and partnership is just so key. Yeah. But perhaps also maybe we have Anders with us, you're here with us today. And Denmark is such a global leader in renewables, and with extensive grid interconnections across Europe, and the Viking Link, that already encompasses 765 kilometers of subsea connector from the UK. So that's an excellent example of cross-border infrastructure. And maybe perhaps you can share with us a little bit more about how that, some takeaways and insights about that.
Sure, happy to do that. I think we've been working, as I said, you need to be patient and something takes time. I think we made the first interconnector 110 years ago. So many years before this beautiful nation was born. So I mean, it taken us quite some time to get there. But I think the way we have worked with the interconnectors has always been sort of really to do all the other comments that you have, that if you want to have an integrated system that's much more secure, you need to build on that. I just brought some numbers on the Danish consumption. I think in 1 year time, Denmark would import 66% of our consumption. And in the same year, we would export 56%. So the trade going on between us and our neighbors is enormous compared to the size of it. And I think that is really due to many factors, but the main reason is, of course, that we have all of these flexible renewables going into the system. So, but if you, I mean, you are specific about the Viking Link. I think the way we structured our interconnectors is that transition system operators in Denmark would be the one that would be building and financing them. And the way they do it is quite simple, actually. They work together with, in that instance, the UK. We do all the calculation. Is this good for society? What would be the cost? What would be the benefit for society? If there's a positive business case, that will be presented to Parliament. They would approve. We would give the TSO access to finance, to loan finance, and they will simply build it and operate it. And the way that we will make money on it is by the price differences between the Danish and the UK market. And that's why it's important that you actually have a market in each place. And that it looks like the Viking Link would be a huge success financially. It was made on time and on budget. So it's also, I mean, technically, this is not a hard thing to do. I mean, we know how to do it, and many companies know how to do it. So I think that the key thing, getting back to my point earlier, when we started working with the other Nordic countries on this, I mean, our TSOs, together with the TSO of the other countries, created Northbørs. So really is this international thing that will start regulating how do you make sure the trading goes on in a way that ensures the financing of these and the revenues of these interconnectors. I think that would be the most important.
Yeah, thank you. And perhaps, Sushil, maybe I can also turn to you with Malaysia playing such a key role also in the ASEAN power grid. And Gentari has been such a pioneer as well in providing clean energy. How do you envisage Gentari specifically contributing to the ASEAN power grid?
Oh, thank you. So I think Gentari is in 3 business segments. One is renewable hydrogen, as well as green mobility. So we have a big stake in sort of collaborating and seeing, you know, both on the molecule side as well as on the electron side, how do we get an interconnect system, right? We, as a company, together with our partners from Singapore and Malaysia and Vietnam, now are developing the project that we call VMS, or Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore project, which is going to be a path-breaking project. But it's more so because it is also a project that has created a lot of excitement, and the governments are getting aligned. There's a bigger discussions happening. How do we enable policies? How do we harmonize, you know, all that I said in the previous questions? And we as a company, together with our partners, we have the experience in executing large projects, to structure these projects, to finance these projects. I think the technology that Jenny spoke about, you know, whether it is HVDC cables or the offshore wind, etc. I mean, these are proven technology, and then this is what we bring, you know, our own experience into execution to de-risk all these large projects. So clearly, it's a lot of collaboration that we are facilitating at this point of time as a company, together with our partners. We bring a lot of experience and expertise to the table to make these projects happen. It's going to be it's still a very challenging project. These are large scale, these are mega scale projects from an ASEAN context. I think, you know, this will be one of the top 2 or 3 sort of capital intensive projects in the region. So it would require enormous amount of engagement with the policymakers, regulators, you know, and the technology providers. And this is what we're going to do for next 2-3 years, and hope to get this project up and running sometime in early 30s. That's the time it takes, you know, when you talk about large projects. So this is what we're doing. We are also as a company involved in projects within Malaysia and in Indonesia to bring power, say, for example, to Singapore. And these are the kind of business-led initiatives which will sort of, enable the ASEAN power trading going forward. So we're really glad to be a part of the story.
Yeah. Looks like there's really no shortcuts. No
there
shortcuts.
There is absolutely no shortcuts.
No shortcuts, no quick wins. We hear a lot of sort of, we all know that there's no transition without transmission. Yesterday, what struck me was no AI without electricity. So, perhaps just before we close this panel, I'd just like to pose a question to all of you, everyone around the table. If there's just one takeaway that you have and a thought that you'd like to leave with all of us, what might it be? Perhaps we'll start from Edwin and go around.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Well, I think the most important thing is the political will between leaders in the country. Well, we have a lot of MOU between PLNs, with Singapore Power, with others. But when we connect two countries, bring the renewable energies from one country to others, this is special things that not only us from the power plant electricity company, but also I think from the government. So the political will is, I think, very important. If, say, our presidents with another president or prime minister agree with that, I think it will run smoothly later on. Thank you.
Thank you. And this?
I think everybody knows now the benefit of creating the grid. So I think from my perspective, it would be how to create the market that would support the development.
All right. Claire?
Yeah, I think a couple of people have mentioned it already, but thinking about how we get electricity from where it's generated to where it's needed and the amount of cooperation that's required between governments in the Australian context, between state and territory jurisdictions and in across the world, that takes a lot of coordination, cooperation, funding and political will. It's not straightforward.
Yes.
Janice?
Yeah, I'd just like to add on something that I've just briefly mentioned just now. So for me, I really think today we are in a space where we can make APG work. It is really about creating the win-win approach. When I say win-win, it really means aligning interest. So for example, when we are doing 300 megawatts of import, let's say from Indonesia, we need to know what is in it for Indonesia as well. And that's why when Keppel develops our project, we work with our partners to look at sustainable industrial zone, not just in terms of meeting Singapore's needs, but it's also in meeting Indonesia's demand, in bringing data center capabilities into an industrial zone, such that it is actually needle moving for both countries, for all citizens, and it will move.
I can't agree more. I think precisely everybody needs to win, when you're talking about a sort of interconnected power system. Look, I have been a big advocate of energy transition all my life. As you said, energy transition cannot happen without transmission. I think an interconnected power system is such a big opportunity for ASEAN. It's just going to transform ASEAN in many ways, from sort of, making sure that we have industries sort of, mushrooming, whether it is on the battery or, solar PV, or investments coming to places where there is actually a large amount of renewables. And then we're getting power where actually it is needed. So, I mean, everybody wins. So, yeah, the future is interconnected.
Yeah, I do think that the prospects are actually a lot brighter. The awareness is much higher. The sense of urgency is also much greater. And the level of determination from everyone's also a lot greater. So thank you. Political will, a win-win mindset, alignment, coordination, awareness, market knowledge. And at OCBC, we're very proud to play a part also to help shape ASEAN's energy future by mobilizing capital, championing bold ideas, and fostering collaboration across the region's energy ecosystem. So thank you very much to all our panelists for a very lively, engaging discussion, and thank you for sharing your valuable insights. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Elaine, thank you very much for moderating the session as well. We'd like to just have all of our panelists come together and have a photograph taken right there. Panelists, if I may invite you, just one for the camera. There we go, very quick photograph. And thank you very much. Thank you, panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you. The next panel, ladies and gentlemen, is on scaling AI for smarter, cleaner energy systems. This session is presented by Vina Group. Please join me in welcoming on stage our panelists. We have Kevin Koh, Head Digital Services, SB Group. Sims Witherspoon, Climate Action Lead, Google DeepMind Institute. Lee McDonough, Director General Net Zero Nuclear and International Department for Energy Security and Net Zero United Kingdom. Michelle Hydra, Director General for Climate and Energy Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Policy, the Netherlands. We also have Juan Masvalor, Chief Operating Officer, Vina Group. Moderating this session, ladies and gentlemen, is Ms. Laura Coetzee, Director of Sustainability, Technology and Outlooks of IEA. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this would be a very interesting session indeed. We're going to hand over the floor to Ms. Coetzee. Over to you, ma'am. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. So I'm very, very pleased to be with these great panelists to discuss something on which I'm very, very passionate about. It's AI and energy. I have been leading this work at the IEA for over a year and a half, and the more we dig into it, the more I get excited about it. There is a lot of actually worry about AI, the data centers that we are building, and our ability to actually produce the electricity they need. We have heard very clearly there is no AI without electricity. It's true that in certain circumstances, they have started creating some issues for our grids. On the other hand, there is a lot of excitement about what AI can bring to the energy sector. And in particular on innovation, I have to say that when we started looking at where AI could support the energy sector, there were a couple of instances where I really got excited. We heard our executive director saying that we have been installing 750 gigawatts of renewables, in particular solar, and solar is very much silicon-based. We are just started to look at other possibility, other materials for solar, and we are looking at perovskite. But when we look at the overall spectrum of what type of materials we could use to generate solar, actually we have just explored 1.5% of all the opportunities. Now, Google DeepMind has done a lot of very interesting research in other areas outside the energy sector, exploring exactly this vast amount of possibilities. So I'm very, very pleased to give the floor to Sim Witherspoon, Climate Action Lead at Google DeepMind, that will kick us in this session. Go ahead.
Lovely. Thank you so much. So I'll go stand at the podium. I think they want me over here. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Sims. I'm the Climate Action Lead at Google DeepMind Institute, and I've got exactly 5 minutes today to inspire you about the use of AI and to leave you with some tangible, actions that you can take away to your organizations and grids and everything that you do in that energy sector to consider how you can deploy AI in your systems. So first, One of the reasons why we're here is because our mission is to build AI responsibly to benefit humanity. And a key part of that responsibility piece is to work with experts like you all to understand the challenges that you face and to make sure that we have the right expertise at the table discussing how we go about developing and deploying our solutions. And to benefit humanity, we really do mean everyone, which is why we are trying to have a global presence. So if I tell you a little bit about some of the things that AI is particularly great at that I think is really interesting for the energy sector, you got these four buckets. I mean, there are more, but I had to choose. So first, identifying patterns in large data sets and making predictions, lots of our forecasting capabilities. Forecasting how a complex system will change over time. Finding novel ways to optimize already complicated systems, and also automating key steps. So those are, four areas where AI is particularly skillful. But if I'm asking you to think of a more simplified framework, I'll leave you with this. Any problems you have for your grid or your organization where you need to understand what's going on, you want to optimize a system, or you want to accelerate progress, I want you to start thinking about AI. You can always come back to this framework. So understand, optimize, and accelerate. Now let me show you some proof points from what we've done that indicate that this is a useful framework and one where AI actually works. So one of the things Google DeepMind has done is developed a suite of forecasting models called WeatherNext. You can read about the stats on the models here, but I think that what's most important is that we are already working with real-world partners like the Met Office in the UK and testing our models, which are 90% more accurate than 90% of the current state-of-the-art models that are being used to forecast the weather. Now, the reason why this is important is because you can use this, weather obviously is important to our daily lives, but specifically to the grid, we can understand cloud cover, we can understand solar supply, we can work with partners like Open Climate Fix, and this is, again, one of our partners' work, not even our own, to increase the accuracy of predictions of renewables by 40%. Now, this is particularly a solar opportunity or solar result. But we're seeing the same results in wind power and in other areas of predicting for renewables. Next, AI can help us optimize current infrastructure. So for those of you who are working at grids, this could be particularly interesting to you. We've developed a model that we're calling Kanos for now that helps us predict AC optimal power flow. On simulated data, the model is 40 to 10,000 times faster than current traditional solvers. It is within a 0.06 optimality gap, so less than 1% from the actual cost. And we also are seeing that it is robust to N-1 perturbations on the grid. So this is, just to be super clear, we're a research organization, so these are results on synthetic data, but we are currently working with real-world grid partners to test how this model works in the real world. And lastly but not least, in addition to understanding, optimizing, you have accelerating. So one of the areas where Google DeepMind has worked in the energy sector for accelerating scientific progress is in nuclear fusion. So we've built a reinforcement learning model that actually controls plasma in a real-world tokamak. And this is incredibly important because understanding plasma physics is one of the key steps to unlocking that nearly inexhaustible supply of renewable energy. And there are other areas that, obviously we can talk about. If you see me or my team around, Eric is over there in the corner. Give a wave, Eric. We're wearing the same color, so we planned that, so it's easy for you to find us. Predictive maintenance, dynamic line rating, optimizing distributed energy resources, and site planning, just among others. Now, why are we really here? What actionable steps can I leave you with? Well, the reason why we're here is because we can't build any of this without collaboration with you all. We are AI practitioners, so a different type of scientist than many of you in the room who are energy experts, and we need to speak with you all to understand the problem statements. So if there are three steps I can offer you to really get started with AI, getting started with practitioners and scientists in computer science, it's these. give us your problem statements. We're not industry experts. We do our best, but we really need to know what are the critical challenges that you have. What are the pain points that you want us to help solve for? Is it congestion management? Is it optimal power flow? Is it topology optimization? What is it? Second is data. If you do not already have in-house data specialists that are helping you clean and standardize data, please hire them. You will have, months, sometimes even a year of data legwork before we can start AI opportunities and collaboration. So us having access to high quality, clean data is extremely important. And last, if you have performance metrics and benchmarks, so tell us, how do we measure success and how much better do AI tools need to be to get you excited to use them? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? We don't know. So we have to go to you not only to understand those problems, to get access to the data and to make sure it's representative of those problems, and also to understand, what benchmarks do you want to see for our performance? So that's why we're here, and if I can leave you with this, if you would like to offer for our research roadmap what problems you have, this is one of the reasons why we're in APAC today and for these conferences. We are here to listen. We want to understand what the challenges, what the critical pain points that you all have that you would like AI to solve for, and you can share that with us for incorporation into our research roadmap right here. So with that, thank you, and I'm very excited to be a part of this expert panel.
Thank you very much, Sims. We give her a round of applause. And just maybe to rebound on something that Sims said, looking at the data, actually, the energy sector is one of the laggards in terms of AI uptake. It's around only 1/3, if you look at natural sciences, only 1/3 of the level. So lots and lots of opportunities still unexplored out there. Juan, let me turn to you. So you are with the Vena Group, the Chief Operating Officer, and with Vena Group you are leading on digital infrastructure around Asia Pacific through Vena Nexus. Yeah. So how would you characterize today's data center market? What are you seeing as challenges and what are you seeing as opportunities?
Thanks, first of all, thanks for having me here. Well, we all know that data centers are booming around the world, but also here in Asia Pacific. And what we see is that the constraint that we're going to have is power. Okay, so we strongly believe that this growth of digital needs to come together with a growth of energy or a change of how things are done. From Vena Energy, we have Vena Nexus, Vena Energy, so we are working together to ensure that when we are developing data centers in Asia, we are bringing it together with renewable energy, battery systems, to ensure that we have not only consuming electricity, but also putting electricity on the table. Okay, so that's it.
Do you want to tell us something more about, there is a lot of discussions whether renewables are a good pair for AI, because very often we hear that AI requires very high quality electricity, very high reliability. So can really renewables provide the quality that the AI data centers need?
Yeah, the end is an integration of renewable energies together with batteries, together with the grid. Okay, so what you're trying to do is to minimize the consumption of energy from outside. Okay, so like the supply of energy from outside, and together with renewable energy, as I say, you can have plenty of solar and bring it to batteries, and then the batteries they charge in the evening, in the night. So yeah, we strongly believe this is the way to.
The way forward. Yeah. Excellent. So
it's fast. At the end, this market data centers is growing so fast, and I think renewable energies and batteries it's very fast to deploy. Okay.
Wonderful. Let me turn to Michel. You've heard he is Director General for Climate and Energy from the Netherlands. He's also, we are very lucky that the Netherlands is the chair of the upcoming IEA ministerial meeting that will take place in Paris next February. So the Netherlands is also home to a lot of data centers, so there is a lot of lessons that you have taken at home. What are you planning to do at the IEA ministerial meeting in February, taking lessons from your country and in terms of international collaboration? Michel.
Yep. Thank you very much, Laura. And it's a real pleasure to be here in Singapore. And it's an honor to chair the IEA ministerial next year. There are so many association countries of the IEA in this region, and you're all cordially invited to join the IEA Ministerial. At the IEA Ministerial, we will indeed also focus on AI, and under the leadership of Laura, the IEA has held already an international conference this year and published 2 very influential reports. What we want to do at the IEA Ministerial is focus, on the one hand, on the key benefits of AI to energy systems, and also, on the other hand, how to mitigate the risks. And we clearly need international cooperation for both. I think also from Sim's presentation today, it is clear what are the benefits of AI to the energy systems. Tools to optimize the grid, balancing the grid, tools to forecast the weather, to ensure that renewables can be integrated well into modern grids, smart apparatus, many, many opportunities here. And I think we need international cooperation and clear examples to learn from each other's best practices. But on the other hand, there are clear risks to the energy systems from the extensive use of AI. We know that in Ireland and certain states of the US, about 30% of electricity consumption is already due to data centers. In my country, it's also quite extensive. And we know, for instance, in Spain, that the requests for data centers are at the same scale as the existing capacity in the network. So how to deal with that challenge? And I think here we need international standards for energy efficiency to ensure that the data centers use their energy in the most efficient manner, firstly. Secondly, and I'll put it a bit bluntly, despite AI being very smart systems, their energy consumption isn't so smart. It's not very flexible, and it is for reasons. So we should find demand-side response solutions to really use renewables or to use the financial power of some of the big tech to ensure that renewables with batteries are used, as many of the big tech companies are committed to net zero, that the energy, that the data centers are powered by renewable energy. And finally, there's also a lot of residual heat from data centers. You don't need it here in Singapore, but in Europe, we could really need it to feed into district heating systems. Yeah. So learn from international best practices to integrate data centers well into the energy system. That is what we look forward to at the IEA Ministerial.
Thank you, Michel. We're very much looking forward to February and discussing even in deeper way all this. Let me turn to Lee. Lee is Director General for Net Zero Nuclear and International at the Department for Energy Security and Net Zero in the United Kingdom. She's also sitting on our board. You all know that the UK is leading on emissions targets, very ambitious emissions targets. First and foremost, through a transformation of the electricity sector. At the same time, we have just heard lots of new announcements for new data centers in the UK. So how do you think you can fit all together and meet all the objectives?
Thank you, Laura, and hi, everybody. It's great to be here. So as you said, we've got very clear and legally binding emissions reductions targets, including our Clean Power 2030 target, which is to decarbonise our electricity supply. But we also want to be able to capture the economic potential of data centres as well. So, you know, and we do believe we can do that in a way that is compatible with our emissions reductions targets. So I'll just mention, there's many things we're doing, but I'll mention 3 things that we're doing to try and aid that. Excuse me. So the first thing is we have set up our AI Energy Council. This is a really important mechanism to bring together governments, energy industry and tech industry as well, so we can address the challenges of balancing those 2 elements carefully. It's chaired by my Secretary of State, Head of Department of Energy Security and Net Zero, and importantly, co-chaired with the Secretary of State for Innovation and Science, Liz Kendall. And we've asked a specific question of this council, which is to really look at how we can work in a way to maximise and accelerate the deployment of data centres, but in a way that complements our ambitions on climate. And I'll pick a couple of points out to say the specific focus. So the first thing is around spatial planning. excuse me, frog in my throat. We're especially interested in thinking about location of AI infrastructure. So in areas that are going to support our Clean Power 2030 objectives. So for example, in Scotland, where we have a lot of spare renewable generation that would otherwise have to be constrained. And then the other thing that we've done is to look at AI growth zones, and so to actually target support and location to maximise, I guess, the compatibility with the overall system and with the grid. So really important programme going on there. The second sort of bucket of things I think we're looking at is how to build confidence to bring investors in. And, we know that, things like, for example, we have designated data centres as critical national infrastructure. So that also gives potential investors the confidence when they come to invest in our country. And very specifically, many of you have mentioned it, is the grid connection and having rapid access to grids. And DESNZ, along with Ofgem, our regulator, the chair is sitting over there, and our National Energy System Operator are working really closely together to try and look at how they can target and accelerate grid connections. And we're actually launching shortly a connected accelerator service to provide targeted and innovative connection solutions for our strategic projects. And I guess the final things I would say is what something government can do. We're also taking powers in our planning and infrastructure bill, which mean we can require network companies to take regard of government's designated strategic projects. So again, creating that balance between the context, for deployments of data centres in a considered way that works with and not against our climate targets, and we think that is a doable balance.
Thank you so much, Lee. And I think that the UK has started with the AI Council, and we are hearing more and more countries actually bringing together around the table both the tech sector and the energy sector to try to bridge these mutual needs, which actually leads me to Kevin Coe, who is head of digital services at the SP Group. And Kevin, you have worked both in the energy sector and in the digital sector. So having lived and living in both worlds, so what lessons do you think the energy sector should take from digital, and what's the experience that you want to share here?
Okay, thank you for having me here. I'm very glad to be here at SIEW at this event to talk about AI, a very, very important topic. But I also noticed that AI is the driver of the energy demand in this region, but it itself holds a number of solutions that we can use to address the need for increased energy use and also for sustainability and renewable energy as we head towards the future. Right? So it's a very interesting topic for me here at SIEW. One of the things I would say that, as we heard from today, AI energy demand is rising and the grid investments is increasing in the next 5 to 10 years. And one of the things that we're looking to do is really use AI technology to be more efficient and effective in our business. Of course, the challenge with adopting AI is twofold. One is, of course, the data quality that we have. Often our systems are not always connected. We have separate networks for OT and IT that are separated, and data is not always of the highest quality. And second challenge is about how to use AI responsibly and of course safely, because of safety and reliability as one of the most important qualities of managing in our role as a grid operator, right? Our key priority is to manage the grid safely and reliably, and also ensure that as we continue to invest in the grid, and as the grid expands, how do we keep that, the grid stable, right? And the reality of it is that as we drive towards renewable energy, the fact that not only is the grid growing, but it's actually going to get more complex because we're going to have different sustainable pathways, as what the minister has said. We're going to have different energy resources. There'll be solar, wind, batteries in the grid, as well as electric vehicles. But all these means that we're going to have more intermittency and variability in the network. And a lot of this we can solve it using software solutions, and that's where AI can come in. As long as we gather the data, we are able to analyze it and then how to optimize our network, right? So one of the two key opportunities I see, one is really in how we can use AI to power and manage our asset life cycle so that we can optimize our resources as we expand and renew our grid. We have been looking at the data from asset information perspective, but also taking parameters from the conditional monitoring of our assets to use AI as an algorithm to determine the asset health index, and combining that with our geographical information to prioritize asset renewal and asset growth so that we can continue to expand the grid in a very optimized manner using the resources that we have in a more efficient and effective manner. That's one area that we're looking at in terms of opportunities for AI. I think the other one is to enable our workforce with digital tools today, right? Because we are, as we grow, I mean, as the nation progresses, we are looking at a digital workforce, a digital native, increasingly digital native workforce, right? So one of the areas we are looking is how to enable them with technology tools that will help, the AI can assist, right, to execute their work, to schedule their work orders, to be able to capture information from the assets, to digitalize their assets back into the system so that we can then use AI to optimize it. So definitely AI presents, while it is one of the causes of energy demand, it's also a solution that we can look at, and AI can be the solution for us to drive optimization and to gear us for sustainable and renewable future. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kevin, also for having mentioned the workforce. We have been working with LinkedIn for the past couple of years to try to track the areas in the energy sector where there is scarcity and where there is really areas where there is more job vacancies than actually. So what we find that actually grids, nuclear, and AI expertise are the areas where there is a lot of demand out there, and not always we are able to fill it. So certainly, if you have, maybe yourself too, but if you have young children, you know in which areas there will be future needs. So that's a very good indication there.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't have enough manpower, right? And therefore, digital tools are here.
Very clear, very
enable
clear.
us, yes.
Sims, if I can get back to you, you've given us the opening talk. You didn't mention that Google DeepMind has made incredible breakthroughs in protein folding, so it's been really great. You mentioned the weather forecasting, material science. So what's the thing that excites you the most about innovation and AI and energy? So where do you think it's the next big thing?
Oh, what excites me the most? That is a really difficult question. I mean, my team works on grid optimization, so I'm really excited about the opportunity for AI to help us with a clean, reliable, secure grid, and all of the component challenges that go along with that. But I also, honestly, one of the really exciting opportunities for us is that AI is now part of the mainstream of conversation. And so, not even that long ago, 10 years ago, it was still kind of like the sci-fi topic. And now there's so much engagement across so many industries. And I think one of the really important topics is one that the panel has already picked up on today, which is the energy use and that natural tension between the solution and then the possible the cost, right? And I do think that it's really important to mention that we think about the cost-benefit analysis at every step of the stack, and Kevin and I were talking about this earlier, right? Where right from the hardware that we use. So, for instance, tensor processing units, which is a type of accelerator and a piece of hardware that AI algorithms run on. Our version 6 is actually 67 times more, or 67%, sorry, 67% more efficient than the version 5, and that's just in one cycle of hardware, right? Google data centers, we've used AI to optimize them. They're about 1.8 times more efficient from a carbon perspective than the average data center in the world. And then also, I think it's important to remember that AI is this huge bucket of different models and technologies, right? So when we're talking about the types of AI algorithms and the agents that we're applying to the electricity grid or to, some of the problems across sustainability, not just in energy, we are talking about a much smaller models than the massive large language models that is consuming kind of popular culture right now. So I think that it's worth noting that there are steps at every part of the way that we can optimize, from the hardware to the size of the models, to work that we hope to do with all of you on actually grid decarbonization, so that the amount of electricity we use is no longer, carbon intensive. And that also unlocks power equity for lots of different, developing countries as well, because the anti-consumerist argument of, well, we should just consume less, isn't quite fair for those countries who are just now getting to take opportunities from, access to that resource. So there's so many things to be excited about, but I honestly think one of the biggest things is just the mainstream and open conversation around AI right now.
Thank you, Sim. So as I will give back the floor to each of our panelists, 1 minute for one takeaway you want to share with our audience, and as I give them the time to reflect, maybe a couple of things I've heard. Basically, we don't think here that AI is going to break our climate targets, but we have to watch out for a few things. We have heard that renewables can be a good pair. We have heard that there is a need for really harnessing more the potential benefits of AI. Huge amount of energy use, so maybe standards on energy efficiency would be something to watch out for. We have heard about great examples from the UK and findings on looking at location in particular, where there is excess renewables. Very exciting news on optimization along the value chain. I have to make one comment that's been working on the energy sector for many, many years. When I hear that one chips and the next generation is 50% more efficient, I would love to hear something like that in the energy sector. We are craving for 1%, 2%, so just amazing. And a lot of interesting things around the grids and how to optimize the grids even further. So we're just at the beginning. We are hearing AI all the time, but it's just a couple of years, so a lot of opportunities. I'll start with you, Juan. Do you want to give us your...
Yeah, I think it's one word that could define is collaboration. We need collaboration between, for example, in our case, Vina Energy, Vina Nexus, to develop sustainable data centers, collaboration among different private companies for driving innovation. I agree we need to improve efficiency. We are also working with another company to see how we can use a cooling system that will reduce the consumption of energy. Collaboration with public entities to have proper policies that helps to develop these data centers and renewable energy, the grid, in a fast but in a good way. And finally, I think you mentioned before collaboration with with institutions, educational institutions, universities. We're going to need people with the skills, and I feel this is going to be one of the bottlenecks also.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Juan. Michel.
Yes, thank you very much. And I learned something also in this forum. So I spoke about reaping the benefits and mitigating the risks. And I think I heard about how to use AI in a good manner, in a safe manner. So how can we do with cybersecurity, this perspective? There's always the local dimension here in a geopolitical context. So we all need data centers to ensure that our grids are managed in a very safe manner. So interested to learn more about that. And I think Lee was mentioning locational policies, and they are key. I mean, there's a space where the real world and the virtual world come together, and that is exactly at the location of the data centers, and how to find the right locations in the grid. We in the Netherlands have, for the hypercenters, 2 places that we put on a map in the north as well as in the south, where all the offshore wind is coming onshore. As well, learn from other locational policies where to put them best into the grid, and I'd love to learn more about that in the near future.
Thank you, Michel. Lee?
I think for me it's, I mean, like so much of the conversations we've had already, it is about collaboration and connection between governments, private sector and public sector to make sure that we are using the immense opportunity in the right way, the most efficient way. And I guess being clear about where responsibilities lie. So, it's government's job to make sure that there's a reliable, clean source of power, the grid connections that we've talked about. I think, on the other side of the equation, it's the things you were talking about, Sim. It's the industry's responsibility to think about resource use and keep focusing on efficiency of operations, and therefore the balance between us, I think, is the thing that has really stood out for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Sims.
Great. I think I'll go back to my 3 actionable steps. If you all want to work with AI, start writing out your problem statements. Even better if you can get to the mathematical language that the algorithms understand. Start looking at your data for quality, standardization, and last but not least, providing benchmarks and success metrics for doing that. You get those 3 things together and you unlock research and innovation on pretty much any problem that you want to work on.
Thank you, Sims. Kevin?
Okay. Probably 3 points. I think one is, the first is, AI is the challenge, but AI can be the solution as well. Secondly is that as as energy demand increases, the grid investments are increasing. Grid is also becoming more complex to manage, right? And thirdly, digital and AI solutions are here to help us, and there's immense opportunity for us to use digital and AI solutions to solve some of the challenges that we are facing in the next 10 years, right? I mean, you just think about that when you buy an electric car, it's not just about a car being electric, it's actually about the software as well, right? So as we enter into this age of renewables and sustainability, let's look at digital and AI solutions as well as the ability for us to address these challenges as we go ahead.
Thank you very much. And with this, I have to say my personal round of applause to all of them, because we are finishing exactly on time. Thank you for a most captivating conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you for moderating this lively session on AI and energy systems. We'd invite you to take a photograph together, if you will. There we go. A very quick photograph. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Witherspoon, hold my hand. I want to help you down. No, I have to. I have to. With all of that energy. Thank you. Have a good one. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be moving on to a fireside chat. This is on strengthening LNG and gas supply chains for the energy security. On stage in a short while, we'll be inviting up our panelists, and they are Menno Woodsting. This is the Senior Vice President, Global Trading and Operations at Woodside Energy. We also have Asako Ueno, Deputy Commissioner for International Affairs, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan. Mr. Sompop Patanaryangkul, who is the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Energy, Kingdom of Thailand. Laude Suleiman, Director General, Directorate of Oil and Gas, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Republic of Indonesia. I'd like to invite our panelists up on stage. And of course, moderating this session, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. Keisuke Sadamori. He is the Director of Energy Markets and Security of IEA. Now, this would be your last panel for the day, ladies and gentlemen, as we move on with the next part of the program a little later on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, panelists. Mr. Sadamori, over to you, sir.
Thank you. And I'm aware that we are a bit behind schedules, and I don't know how long I have. We still have 20 minutes, and so we're between you and your lunch. So we would like to complete the session as quickly as possible. So now, this is about the LNG, natural gas. And this is quite timely as the IEA released the gas 2025 market report just yesterday. And actually, I would like to go on talk about the findings of the report, but because we don't have time, I would like you to look into the IEA's website, and that's already posted there. But basically, what is drawn here is that we'll be having a very big wave of LNG capacity coming in toward the 2030, around 300 BCM, which is an unprecedented level. So we expect, at this moment, we are seeing the rather tight natural gas market, but we'll be seeing a well-supplied market going toward the 2030. So I would like to start with this, the market outlook for the first round of the question and answers. So I would like to start with Mr. Westing, on how you see the natural gas market going forward.
Yes, well, thank you very much. I think from, as you mentioned, the market is talking about this supply glut towards the end of the decade. Personally, we think it's potentially slightly overstated, that it is going to be a big glut. I think we have seen, and as the report shows, there is an increasing demand for energy as well, right? We heard a lot of discussions around AI and how that increases demand for energy. And natural gas, of course, is one of the elements that can support with that energy demand. So I think the demand for energy should not be underestimated going forward. On the other hand, on the other side of the ledger, of course, we have the supply side, as you mentioned, right? And there is more supply coming online towards the end of the decade. However, I think that there is also a decline in the existing supply side. So, of course, the current fields that are producing are declining as well, right? And I think if you look at the numbers, it's about 6 million tons per annum of production that is actually losing from the markets because of that decline. If you then add on some of the market slippages or delays in some of the project executions that you see, if you look at last year, we were predicting that there would be 34 million tons per annum, I think, of new production coming online in 2026. If you look at the same picture now, a year later, for 2026, we are seeing it's about 24 million. So it's a drop-off of 10 million tons per annum due to project delays. So I think that these things of natural decline, project delays, the increasing demand of energy due to data centers or just in general with population growth, and GDP growth. In the end of the day, long term, I think there are still strong market fundamentals, although you might have small ups and downs across the years, but I think in the long term, the market fundamentals still stack up.
Thank you for the excellent point, in particular with respect to the possible ups and downs. And we are living in a very uncertain world, so I think that that's something that we need to take note of. So let me turn to the government side. So, Ueno-san, from the perspective of the Japanese government, how do you see the natural gas markets going forward?
Well, thank you for having me. And then on behalf of the government of Japan, the government's responsibility is to secure the energy supply. Since we are responsible for that. So we need to ready for the uncertainty of the world, since we have the energy crisis in the past, so we need to be ready to such kind of uncertainty. So from that perspective, so the Japanese government is pushing forward the continued. Actually, we believe that it's really crucial to have the continued investment in the LNG. So not only for the upstream, but also for the it's not for the upstream, but also the downstream. So for the purposely continued investment is crucial. I mean, even from now on. Okay, so that's the really important point.
Thank you. You raise a very important point of the kind of crucial importance of investments. Mm-hmm. And I think that it is particularly important in this region. You know that the Asian markets, in particular the ASEAN countries, they are very price sensitive, but at the same time, we're seeing the very rapid the demand growth in energy with economic and population growth, while the production from this region of oil and gas is actually coming down. So I think that this is a very important question for the ASEAN countries, and we have two speakers from this region. So I would like to start with Dr. Sompop. How do you see the market outlook going forward?
Yes, I think that we see some new capacity coming up, but I agree that for example, in Thailand, we have declining domestic production as well. So I think first thing that I think for Thailand and ASEAN, we need to prepare infrastructure that is flexible enough to meet with the new demand. For example, I think in the next 5 years, I think for ASEAN now we have 60 MTPA of regas. In the next 5 years, that could be around 30 MTPA addition. I think for Thailand we have 10 addition. So we have around 1/3 of total ASEAN capacity. So I think the first thing is to prepare the infrastructure. And if the market is to be well supplied, we hope that it would be sustained in terms of price as well. I think as the importer, we want to see stable price, not too high, not too low. I think in the level that can sustain flow of LNG into the market, and also not too high that we have the domestic energy price problem. So I think the thing that we need to provide infrastructure and also accessibility to LNG and natural gas. For example, in the ASEAN framework, I think we try to have more access. I think for small scale LNG, for LNG for bunkering is one of the tasks that we work coordinately in the ASEAN. So I think that to prepare for new supply, we need infrastructure, and also we need to create demand. For example, for bunkering and for heat sector, that for heating, because it's quite hard to abate for carbon emission. So I think that point for me.
Thank you for the excellent point. And I agree that the accessibility to the affordable natural gas will be crucial for the ASEAN countries in the achieving the economic development, as well as the kind of cleaner energy transitions. Let me turn to the key major producer in this region, Indonesia. So I would like to ask Dr. Laud on how you see the natural gas in the ASEAN markets.
Thank you. We are now entering a new phase in the LNG market where supply and demand are expected to become more balanced by the end of this decade. Globally, more than 200 billion cubic meters of new LNG capacity are being developed, especially from United States, Qatar, and Africa. So this expansion should bring greater stability to prices after several years of volatility. For ASEAN country, this is a real opportunity because gas demand in the region continued to rise by about 3% each year, driven by the need for reliable energy for industries and power generation, as well as for fertilizer industry. To fulfill benefit from this new supply wave, ASEAN countries need to strengthen their infrastructure, that is more regasification terminals, storage facilities, and flexible pipeline networks. In the case of Indonesia, Indonesia is a country that have more than 280 million people with economic growth 5%. Indonesia is a unique position as both an LNG exporter and consumer. So we are going to continue export from some projects like Tangguh, Bontang, Donggi Sonoro LNG, and upcoming projects like Masela, while prioritizing domestic needs and expanding terminal in Java, Sulawesi, and eastern part of Indonesia. This dual role allow us to contribute the regional supply security while ensuring our own national energy resilience. Thank you.
Thank you. Your role of Indonesia as a key producer in this region is really highly appreciated, and we need to ensure that necessary investment will continue to happen in this area. So we heard about how the panelists see the kind of a market outlooks for the 2030 in the coming 5 years. Now, let me turn to a more kind of a policy side perspective. So the natural gas will need to play a very important role in the global energy markets. And for instance, but at the same time, we are seeing the energy transition, which needs to happen and need to be accelerated as quickly as possible. So in that respect, renewables, in particular, the solar PV are growing very fast. The IEA just released the wind and solar integration report for this ASEAN region just about a month ago. But there, in order to integrate this increasing share of variable renewables, natural gas-fired power generation will need to play a very important role. So I would like to ask the kind of a panelists, how do you see the role of natural gas, LNG, in the entire energy systems going forward? And how can ASEAN countries balance the need for LNG in ensuring energy security, but also decarbonization? I would like to start with back to Mr. Westning again.
Yes.
Would you please?
Thank you for that. And I think that we see, as you mentioned, the LNG or natural gas as being a key part of that energy mix. And I think you mentioned yourself already the two elements there, around energy security and energy affordability. But of course, we have the energy sustainability as well, right? Where we talk about this energy transition that needs to happen. And I think that's at heart, that's the key question that we need to ask ourselves as we grow the demand, as the data centers and all these things come in. The governments need to play a very important role, and the private sector as well, in that balance between those three things. It's affordability, it's sustainability, and it is the energy security. And I think that's the balance and how the different energy sources need to balance each other out. And from an LNG perspective, from a natural gas perspective, I think natural gas plays an important role in that balance. Because on one hand, it can help, as you mentioned, as renewable energy comes online, and as the intermittency of renewable energy is playing out, the flexibility of gas and the ability for gas to switch on and off during those times of intermittency is a very important factor in providing that stability to the grid. On the other hand, or at the same time, because it is, like I said, it's a balance between these three areas, I think natural gas, when you use it for power generation, compared to coal, it also reduces the amount of emissions that are being produced, right? And roughly, I think it is about by 50 or half the emissions from a gas-fired power station compared to a coal-fired power station. So I think if you look at it from the lens of those three elements, of making sure that we have the energy security, energy sustainability, and affordability, I think natural gas remains a very important element of that energy mix.
Thank you. And I fully agree that it's not only about this flexibility, but also the need for replacing the coal, fuel switching to a cleaner the fuels. And we have to remind ourselves that the coal still continues to play a very important role in this region.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Ueno-san, about the role of this the LNG, natural gas?
Yes. So from the government point of view, LNG is considered to be indispensable for realistic energy transition, because LNG plays central role as a balancing power to the renewable energies. So there are two things that Japanese government is promoting. One is to ensure LNG market security. So the Japanese government has initiated studies in cooperation with the IEA on lessons learned from the LNG crisis. So that's one thing. And the second thing is we would like to stress the importance of transition finance, especially in the ASEAN regions. So, this month, a joint report on transition finance by the cooperation among the ADB area and the government of Japan was released. And then there's the IEA separately issued the report on the energy transition. So these reports highlight the necessity of financing for transition areas, and then this includes the transition to LNG and also developing the transmission and distribution network in this region. And then also the report said that the global demand for such transition finance could reach to a total of 4 or 5 trillion US dollars over the next decade. It's enormous. So we aim to encourage financial institutions to invest in transition sectors. So Japan hopes to support Asian countries in achieving the Asian-style type of energy transition.
Thank you, and thank you for raising this very important the issue of transition finance. The IEA released this the transition finance report 2 weeks ago in this the ASEAN Energy Ministers meeting, and we point to the fact that not only the green financing but also this transition financing in reducing the kind of the emissions, that will be a key part in the supporting this the cleaner energy transitions in this region. So, what do you think, Dr. Sampap, on this point?
I think for natural gas is a transition fuel for Thailand. Given that we still need a base load capacity for our power system, so given the current cost of electricity in the country, we now expedite the installation of solar and wind, but we need to secure the power system as well. So natural gas as the base load can be operated flexibly in the power system, and also given that even the battery technology is improving, but cost still not competitive given that our current tariff. So I think natural gas can help during the transition, and also we believe that other technology will evolve and we can have like the competitive cost in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for raising this the issue of this kind of the transition fuels, and also the possible role that the batteries need to play. Yes, but when we consider the kind of a long-term variability issues, I think that the role of natural gas as a transition fuel would be a pretty long one, I would say. So, what do you think, Mr. Laude, on this the role of LNG, natural gas, in the transitions?
Yeah, many countries target for net zero emission force the increase of using natural gas as a bridging energy source. So, natural gas remains central to ASEAN balanced energy transition. It is the cleanest fossil fuel and provide the flexibility needed as renewables such as geothermal, solar, wind become a larger part of our power system. Today, gas contributes nearly a fifth of Indonesia's energy mix, and we expect it to remain an important pillar as we move toward our net zero target. At the same time, we are ensuring that gas use becomes progressively cleaner. Indonesia is advancing carbon capture and storage projects with the first commercial scale development underway in the Southeast Sumatra and Papua. And for ASEAN, this balance is essential. Gas and LNG provide the reliability we need today, while innovation and cleaner technology will keep them sustainable.
Thank you. Actually, I wanted to go another round on the kind of what measures need to be done, in ensuring the supply, but time is running out, so the screen says please wrap up. So without intending to summarize the excellent discussions among the panelists, but I think that this panel made it very clear the very important role of the natural gas LNG for the energy transitions of this region and also for globally. So I would like you to join thanking this excellent group of people. So thank you very much for the very good discussions here.
Sadamori-sama, thank you very much, sir, for moderating this. Would you like to invite the panel for a quick photograph together? Right. Thank you very much, panelists. Appreciate your time on stage. And thank you so much for your sharing as well. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we will prepare the stage for the closing remarks happening in a short while. Thank you. Making the closing remarks, ladies and gentlemen, is the chair of the IEA Standing Group for Global Energy Dialogue and Director General for Energy of the Federal Public Service for the Economy of Belgium. Please welcome on stage Ms. Nancy Mahou.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. And so as we bring today's discussion to a close and really realizing that I'm standing between you and lunch, I would just first to express my sincere appreciation to all our speakers. And in particular, I know they are gone, to Mr. Tan from Singapore and Secretary Garen from the Philippines for their very rich insights and perspectives. And so this morning, it has all been about dialogue. It has been about sharing experiences, and it has been about learning from each other. But above all, it's about exploring how we can meet our common challenges together. And this is the very purpose of the SIEW forum. And so earlier this year in April, the IEA organized a truly timely event in London. It was the future of energy security. And there a clear message emerged from that meeting. And this one was that energy security can no longer be achieved in isolation. And so whether we talk about Asian power grids, artificial intelligence, or LNG supply chains, the conclusion is the same. Building networks of trust, shared infrastructure, and coordinated action is essential for a resilient and a sustainable energy future. And so Dr. Birol in London reminded us that energy systems are becoming more interconnected and interdependent, creating an urgent need to reassess energy security within a fragmented geopolitical landscape. And that captures perfectly why dialogue and cooperation are so vital. And so allow me, therefore, to share a few reflections from the perspective of my very small country. As we are very small, we depend on strong energy links, not only with our neighbors, but also with the wider European and global energy systems. And through interconnections with all our neighboring countries, we can import to half of our electricity needs, and we play a vital role in power flows across Central Western Europe. And these interconnections allow energy to move freely across borders, ensuring that power reaches where it is most needed, reliably, and at the best possible price. But interconnections, they are not only about markets or economics, they are also about resilience, sustainability, and solidarity. And when my country faced challenges with its nuclear capacity in the winter of 2018 and 2019, and later when a neighboring country also faced similar difficulties, not a single light went out. Interconnection allowed us to support one another calmly, efficiently, and in solidarity. And in the same spirit of solidarity, it was a driving force behind the creation of the Pentalateral Energy Forum. It was launched in response to the 2006 blackout, bringing together Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, and later joined by Austria and Switzerland. And it became a model of regional electricity integration, expanding from market coupling to crisis management and decarbonization, all built on regional and multilateral dialogue. And on multilateral dialogue, it is very special for me. It's a real honor to be here as a chair of the IEA Standing Group on Global Dialogue. It is a very important committee, and I think it's one of the best committees it has in the IEA, which leads the agency engagement with its broader family of partner countries. And what we have witnessed this morning is a vivid demonstration of why multilateral dialogue and cooperation are indispensable for shaping a secure, connected, and sustainable energy future for Southeast Asia. And the Asian power grid embodies this collective vision. It's transforming diversity into strength and building resilience through integration. AI and digital technologies offer another powerful path forward. It's enabling smarter, more efficient systems if supported by shared standards and responsible governments. And today's exchanges, as we just heard on LNG, reminded us that reliability still depends on diversification, transparency, and alignment with our long-term climate goals. And at the IEA Standing Group on Global Dialogue, we are convinced that energy security and clean energy transitions both depend on a sustained dialogue and shared commitment. And the conversations here this morning will directly inform our cooperation with Southeast Asia through the IEA Regional Cooperation Center in Singapore, which we have the honor to visit with my fellow Bureau members on Thursday. And so let me then close by thanking our Southeast Asian partners, our member countries, and all participants for your engagement and trust this morning. And together, we provide that smart, connected, and secure systems, and not just technology goals. They are the foundation for the collaborative energy future we are building. And finally, let me extend my warm appreciation to our host for today here in Singapore for their generous hospitality and excellent organization of this event. Because in today's energy landscapes, ladies and gentlemen, no nation stands alone. It's our strength that lies in connection. It's our progress, which is in cooperation, and it's our future, which is in collective action. Thank you very much, and I'm wishing you an enormous, inspiring dialogue through the week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for those very nice, meaningful closing remarks. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the Singapore IEA Forum. We'd like to again thank all of our speakers, all of our panelists for their perspectives and, of course, their invaluable insights. And, of course, for you, I certainly hope you found this entire discussion this morning nice and enriching. Just a housekeeping announcement. We look forward to seeing you at the SIEW Connects reception this evening. And this reception will be held at the Wakuda at Marina Bay Sands. This is at Tower 2, and it will start from 6 p.m. onwards. Do not forget to bring your passes along with you for identification to access SIEW Connects. With that, ladies and gentlemen, Singapore International Energy Week and the Singapore International Energy Agency Forum has come to an end this year. We certainly hope to see you next year at the same platform, at the same space. This is Ravi saying thank you for your time and have a great afternoon. Thank you. Bye-bye.